All right, so you did it. You landed the interview for that dream RPA developer role. But now comes the real challenge, the technical rounds. This is where the rubber meets the road. We're going to go way beyond the basics and walk through the exact playbook that separates a good developer from the one who gets hired.
You know, every single hiring manager is trying to answer this one simple question. It's not about whether you know what an activity is, that's table stakes. It's about something way deeper, something more strategic that you have to prove when you're in the hot seat.
And the answer? It all comes down to how you handle those critical, high-pressure questions. It's about your thinking, your problem-solving. So, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's run through a mock interview, round by round, and I'll show you exactly how a top-tier candidate answers.
Okay, round one. This is all about the fundamentals. These are the questions that test your core knowledge. If you nail these, you're going to build the confidence you need for the really tough stuff later. First up, an absolute classic.
The interviewer asks, "Can you explain the dispatcher-performer model?" Your answer needs to be crystal clear. You say, well, the dispatcher is like the manager. It gathers up all the work, breaks it down into individual tasks, and puts them in an orchestrator queue. Then, the performers are the workers. They each grab one task at a time and get the job done.
But here's the pro move. Don't just stop there. You have to explain why it's so important. You talk about the benefits. You get amazing load balancing because multiple bots can work at once. You get incredible transaction-level tracking. You get automatic retries for any failures. And the performance? It's just superior. This shows you're thinking about building enterprise-ready solutions, not just little scripts.
All right, next question. And this one is another big test of your architectural judgment. They're not just looking for a textbook definition. They want to know if you can pick the right tool for the right job. How you answer this reveals everything about how you think.
Here's how you nail the answer. You break it down super simply. You say, look, a sequence is for straight-line processes, just one step after another. A flowchart is perfect when you have decision points, if-then logic, branching paths. And the state machine, that's the heavy hitter you bring out for really complex, event-driven automations, where the process can jump between different states.
Now the interviewer switches gears to UI automation. And they know this one, kind of scary fact, up to 80% of automation failures are caused by one single thing, unstable selectors. It's a huge, huge pain point, and if you can show you know how to solve it, you're golden. This is your moment to shine. You explain that you don't just re-indicate a broken selector and call it a day. No, you build bots that last. You talk about using variables inside selectors, using wildcards like the asterisk to handle changing attributes, and using string formatting to build them dynamically. This proves you build resilient automation. Okay, you want to make a real impression? Time for a power move. The conversation shifts to data processing. A junior dev might start talking about a for each row loop, but not you. You're going to show them something way, way better. You show them this, a link query. You explain that instead of slowly looping through, say, 10,000 rows of data, you can use this single line of code to filter a data table almost instantly. It's clean, it's efficient, and it screams that you have advanced data skills.
You have absolutely crushed the fundamentals. The interviewer is impressed, but now they're going to raise the stakes. We are moving into the big leagues, enterprise architecture, and the heart and soul of UiPath, the RE framework.
First things first, they'll ask you to explain the RE framework. The key here is to define it not just as some template, but as the industry-standard blueprint for building serious, production-grade automations. It's how you build things to be robust, scalable, and resilient. And then you prove you know it by walking them through the 4 states. First, there's the init state. That's where you open apps and load configs. Then, get transaction data, which grabs the next item to work on. Third, you've got the process transaction state. This is the workhorse, where all the magic happens. And finally, the end process state, for a nice, clean shutdown.
And here comes a classic trip-up question. So what's the difference between a queue item and a transaction item? They sound similar, but they're not. A queue item is the actual piece of data sitting in the orchestrator queue. The transaction item is the local variable in your workflow that's holding onto that queue item while it's being processed. It's a small detail, but it shows you really get it.
Now, to really prove you're an architect, you have to talk about modularity. How do you keep your code from becoming a tangled mess? You lay out your strategy. You build small, reusable workflows. You package common code into libraries. You use strict naming conventions so anyone can understand your work. And, this one's critical, You separate your business logic from your UI interactions.
So you've proven you know the theory, you've talked the talk. Now for the final round, and honestly, the most important one. Can you walk the walk? This is where you have to apply all that knowledge to solve messy, real-world problems.
So they hit you with this one, a scenario every single one of us has faced. There's a critical element on a web page, the selector is garbage, and it keeps breaking. The bot keeps failing. What do? The key is not to panic. You have a plan.
You come back with a systematic, multi-step attack. You don't have one solution. You have a whole toolbox. You say, first, I'd try anchor base to latch onto a stable neighbor. If that doesn't work, maybe fuzzy selectors if the text changes a bit. I'd definitely use wildcards for any dynamic IDs. And of course, I'd make sure I have a wait for element activity to handle page load times. It shows you're a methodical problem solver. And then comes the big one. The high-pressure, the world is on fire question. Your bot is live in production, it's failing, the business is watching. What do you do? This isn't just a technical test, it's a test of your professionalism under pressure.
And you respond with a calm, logical playbook. You don't guess, you investigate. You say, Step 1, I check the orchestrator logs for the exact error. Step 2, I try to replicate the error manually. Then I'll validate selectors, check the queue for exceptions, verify all my config settings, and only then will I resort to rerunning in debug mode. You turn chaos into a structured process.
And scene. The interview's over, you've navigated every round, from the core concepts to the high-stakes scenarios. You've nailed it. Now let's just boil this all down to the key takeaways you need to have in your back pocket. So here it is, your final cheat sheet. Before you walk into that room, make sure these concepts are second nature. You need to master the dispatcher performer model. You have to know why you choose a sequence over a flowchart. You have to internalize the 4 states of REFramework. And please, have a systematic debugging plan ready to go. I'm going to leave you with this last thought. Answering these questions correctly is great, but weaving them all together into a narrative that proves you can build robust, scalable, and maintainable automation, that's what gets you the offer. It's about showing you're not just there to code, you're there to be an architect of lasting solutions.